That particular Saturday passed leisurely, with time seeming to drift. I found myself idling at home, engrossed in my phone, when I spotted an unreturned call from Liam. He had left his earphones at my place after our previous night's gathering and requested their return. The task seemed insignificant to me, so I picked up the earphones from the table and messaged him about returning them. Liam resided not far away, a swift trip across town with no complexities. I was aware that his mother, Charlotte, usually kept to herself or was bedridden. Her existence in my mind was limited to merely being Liam's mother. So, when I knocked on the door, I assumed it would be Liam who answered. However, it was Charlotte who opened up. She was draped in a towel, her hair still damp from the shower. She seemed somewhat surprised, yet unabashed. My eyes shifted elsewhere quickly due to my uncertainty. Was there an uncomfortable tension filling the space, palpable enough to slice? "Hey, Russell," she greeted with a smile. "Liam's not here for a while. What brings you?" I fumbled with my words for a moment before presenting the headphones as a gesture of goodwill. "I just dropped these off. I didn't realize you were occupied." She offered a soft chuckle and tucked a damp strand of hair behind her ear. "Oh, I'm free," she replied casually. "Just stepped out of the shower. Would you like to join for a while?" After a brief hesitation, I went inside despite my uncertainty. Although she wasn't unfamiliar, it felt different now. I had always perceived her as composed, maternal figure. I never imagined feeling attracted to someone in this manner. We sat in the living room and she served me a drink. "Dear friends, please help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you." At first, our discussion flowed casually, but as it unfolded, I discovered she was disclosing aspects of herself in an unforeseen manner. She discussed life and the transformations happening around her, confessing that amidst the crowd, there were moments when she felt profound loneliness. For a while, it seemed I wasn't conversing with my dearest friend's mother, but merely connecting with another individual in a heartfelt, genuine exchange. Her gaze hinted at attentiveness towards my words. That moment marked a shift within me. I viewed her differently. She was more than just Liam's mom. There were layers to her that I hadn't noticed before. Then she offered a tender, enigmatic smile and stated, "Russell, you've matured significantly. It's hard to believe," followed by, "I remember you and Liam playing around the house as kids." I found myself at a loss for words, so I simply gave a subtle nod. A new kind of energy emerged between us, an unspoken yet palpable force. I sensed a flicker, a subtle tension, but I was uncertain of its significance. Yet, I knew I wasn't ready to depart just yet. She rose and moved towards the kitchen, and I tagged along. As she brushed past me, I detected a hint of her perfume, lingering from her shower and delicate. For a fleeting instant, she ceased to be Liam's mother. She was merely a woman, an entity with her own story and desires. "Thank you for dropping by," she remarked, glancing at me over her shoulder. I truly needed to speak with someone today. I returned a gentle smile and felt a pleasant warmth in my chest. "Whenever," I replied, though as I withdrew, I couldn't rid myself of the sensation that something had shifted between us. Something unsaid had blossomed, and I wasn't certain where it would take us. The following time I encountered Charlotte was serendipitous. I was out procuring items for dinner when we crossed paths in an aisle. She clutched a marinara sauce jar, studying its label as a small, cute afro sat upon her forehead, which caught my attention unexpectedly. How was it possible I hadn't noticed her natural beauty before? It wasn't merely her physical appearance. It was the graceful confidence in her movements and the way she carried herself. She seemed to harbor some secret knowledge that the rest of us lacked. I hadn't expected to encounter her, and truthfully, I was uncertain about my reaction. Our conversations had been scarce since that peculiar morning with the towel and headphones. Yet, something about that day stayed with me. Something about her smile and the way she looked at me lingered. Initially, I chalked it up as a strange one-time occurrence, but when her eyes met mine, "Russell," she whispered softly, smiling calmly and invitingly. Her voice had a calming effect. I returned her smile, trying to maintain a casual tone. "Hello, Charlotte. You didn't anticipate running into you here," she responded, casually gathering items for dinner, indicating her cart. "Is there anything specific you require?" However, our interaction escalated into a comprehensive discussion. We chatted about food, weather, and lighter subjects. Beneath the surface, however, a deeper tension was evident. There was a subtle but discernible sense of tension, fleeting glances, quiet smiles, followed unexpectedly by her query, "Are you free tonight?" She said it casually, as if it were insignificant, but I could tell she was gauging the situation. I was unsure how to respond. I hesitated, planning on a low-key evening at home. She gave a faint smile. "Liam is out with his friends tonight. I was thinking about cooking dinner. You should join. It would be nice to have some company." This proposition caught me off guard. My initial response was a polite refusal. After all, beyond Liam, what else was there to discuss? Yet, the way she suggested it made it hard to decline. Without hesitation, my words came out as the affirmative. Yes, certainly. I had no inkling of what lay ahead. However, as the night unfolded and I escorted her home, an apprehension took hold in my chest, akin to stepping into uncharted territory. Her residence, as always, exuded comfort. The scent of homemade cuisine permeated the air, wrapping the room in a cozy embrace. In the kitchen, Charlotte softly hummed while tending to something on the stove. I stood at the entrance, watching her for a moment. And then it dawned on me. This woman before me was not the same as my familiar Charlotte. Despite her identical appearance, she seemed more authentic, more vulnerable. "Please take a seat," she invited over her shoulder. Dinner was almost over, and I sat in one of the kitchen chairs, attempting to conceal my unease. Effortlessly, she moved around the kitchen as if it were an extension of herself. On the other hand, I remained seated, trying to decode the stirrings within me. It wasn't merely her appearance or her ease, it was the way she affected me, making me feel like more than just a friend to her son. We conversed comfortably without awkward pauses or forced chatter. Our topics ranged from life and its unpredictability. She shared tales of her past, longing for the thrill of spontaneity. She acknowledged that with Liam's frequent absences, life had become routine. Her tone hardened when she spoke about it. She appeared to have been suppressing feelings for years, claiming everything was fine even when it wasn't. I listened attentively. I offered no insightful advice or profound observations. Instead, I merely listened and allowed her to talk. While I remained quiet, I observed. Her eyes gleamed when she spoke passionately about something. Her laughter was genuine. She wasn't merely Liam's mother. She was a woman with thoughts, feelings, and a life of her own. "Thank you," I said as we finished our meal, starting to clean up. She smiled at me, and for a moment I sensed something deeper in her gaze. "I'm so glad you dropped by," she said. It's been a while since I had a meaningful conversation with someone. I didn't know what to say, so I gave her a subtle nod. But we both understood unspoken things. Our relationship had subtly changed, though we didn't need to acknowledge it aloud. When I tried to leave, she hugged me. It was simple, relaxed, and pleasant. Yet, her hand lingered for an extra second on my back, and that moment stayed with me. "Be careful, Russell," she whispered quietly, barely audible. As I left for my car, My head spun. That night seemed ordinary, but it stirred something within me, something I couldn't define. She didn't do anything outwardly inappropriate. Yet, the way she looked at me and listened, it made me feel there was an authentic bond emerging between us, a unique connection. I had been to Liam's house countless times, but this wasn't the same. And I detested how much it lingered in my thoughts in the days that followed. I tried to erase it from my memory. I attempted to act as if nothing had transpired. A few days later, Liam called and asked if I wanted to grab a drink. I thought going out would help clear my mind. However, when I entered the bar, I spotted Charlotte sitting at the counter with some of her friends. She recognized me, smiled, and beckoned. Without conscious thought, I returned the gesture. Her smile was casual, yet it held a warmth that wasn't there before. A vague sense unsettled my stomach as I approached. "Hey, Russell," she said unexpectedly. "I didn't think I'd run into you tonight." I nonchalantly responded, keeping company with Liam. "Seems like you slipped in unnoticed," she commented. She chuckled lightly. I was intending to reconnect with old friends. It's been a while since I went out. Her gaze lingered on me for an instant too long. The tension reemerged, that subtle undercurrent that persists between us. I knew I should have distanced myself, said my goodbyes, and reunited with Liam, but I didn't. Instead, I sat down beside her. We conversed, laughed, as if nothing out of the ordinary was happening. Liam eventually joined us. The three of us remained there chatting about school memories and amusing antics from our past. Despite the noise, my mind kept drifting back to Charlotte whenever she looked at me, and every time she did, I felt it. That change, that feeling. Charlotte's chuckles or gazes triggered a response within me, something I didn't entirely grasp. There was an unspoken understanding between us, as if we possessed a hidden truth neither wanted to disclose. Later, Liam stood up to fetch another drink, leaving only Charlotte and me at the table. I hadn't intended to speak, but the words seemed to flow. "By the way, Charlotte, how are you truly?" She halted, her smile wavering slightly, and for a brief instant, I saw vulnerability in her eyes. "I'm fine," she replied softly. "I've been experiencing a sense of solitude lately." Her candor took me aback. It was as if she unveiled a layer, revealing someone other than Liam's mother. "Yes," I acknowledged, nodding. "I comprehend that." "It isn't always straightforward," she added with a subdued nod, and we remained silent for a while. There was no discomfort. Instead, there was a sense of tranquility. I felt an urge to offer comforting words as she seemed burdened, yet the right phrases eluded me, so I merely stared at her, questioning if her words were sincere or hinting at something deeper. Liam arrived with our drinks, ending that moment, but my feelings towards Charlotte had changed subtly. She was no longer simply a friend's parent. A peculiar radiance enveloped her now, one tinged with risk. Later, when we decided to depart, I escorted Liam to the car, yet my mind lingered on our brief exchange. What did she mean by lonely? Was she expressing boredom, or was it a subtle plea for something more? Upon returning home, I found myself replaying the entire evening in my mind. That meal, that was a confession. Her gaze, it was telling. It dawned on me then. This wasn't just an ordinary night out. There was something else developing between us, something unsaid. Despite my wishes, I found myself drawn into it. The most unsettling aspect was that I no longer wished to resist. The ensuing days were heavy, filled with thoughts of the bar and Charlotte's revelation. Her peaceful confession still resonated in my mind, her gaze lingering on me as if seeking something. A palpable tension hung between us. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't shake that feeling off. I repeatedly told myself it meant nothing, a mere one-time occurrence. But I knew better. Liam and I had always been close. He was my best friend. However, recently, even during our hangouts, my thoughts kept drifting back to her, Charlotte. This disturbs me greatly. I despise the thoughts that refuse to leave me alone. She smiled, a certain air of difference surrounding her now. That Saturday, I decided it was time to clear my mind. I called Liam and suggested we go to the park to play basketball, as we used to do. Perhaps by moving my body, I could still my racing mind. Upon my arrival at the court, Liam was already honing his shot. His gaze met mine with a smile upon recognizing me. "Long wait," he quipped, passing me the ball. I managed a return smile, replying, "I had an issue to address." We proceeded with a competitive game for the following hour. There was laughter, banter, and a mutual effort to outperform each other. However, my thoughts were far from the game. They wandered to someplace serene, comforting, and puzzling. Eventually, we paused our game by settling on the court's edge. Out of the blue, Liam inquired, "You reckon my mother is all right?" He mopped his brow and stared at me. The query caught me off guard. "In what way?" I asked. "She seems distant lately," he commented, examining the pavement unusually. "I'm unsure if she's anxious or not, but something feels out of place. I suspect she's dealing with something." That struck a chord with me more than expected. I had long viewed Charlotte as composed and unflustered, yet maybe I was incorrect. I didn't know for sure. I merely said something quietly. "You conversed with her about it?" He shakes his head, indicating not really. "Whenever I try to discuss it, she dismisses it. I don't wish to pressure her, but I can feel she's not well." I wasn't certain what to say. A part of me wanted honesty, to reveal my feelings and observations about her and myself. But I couldn't. Not right now. Perhaps never. Maybe she just needs some solitude. In an attempt to appear nonchalant, I offered help. He murmured a maybe in response, but his voice conveyed doubt. We ended the game and returned to his apartment. Still, my gut felt tense throughout, as if I was moving towards something I couldn't avoid. Upon entering, there she was, Charlotte sitting on the couch leafing through a magazine. Upon arrival, she welcomed us with a smile, suggesting all was well. "Hello, everyone," she said pleasantly, but her eyes betrayed fatigue and tension. "Hey, Mom," Liam called out, seating himself beside her on the couch. "You okay?" I inquired softly, scrutinizing her. Charlotte hesitated before nodding affirmatively. "Just had one of those exhausting weeks." Her response seemed casual, as if it were insignificant. I chose not to probe further, uncertain about how to address the issue. My heart pounded loudly, so I ventured to the kitchen for a brief respite. Yet, even there, I heard her footsteps approaching. Charlotte stood in the doorway, her arms folded across her chest. "Russell," she said softly, her voice steady but firm, "may we talk for a moment?" Caught off guard, I turned around to face her. "All right, what's new?" She entered and gently shut the door, moving closer. As she approached, my chest constricted. I merely wanted to express my gratitude," she said, avoiding eye contact. Her words resonated deeply, more impactful than anticipated. I managed a response. "You can always count on me if you need someone to confide in." She nodded slowly, and we fell into an intense, heavy silence. It seemed charged with unspoken things. Then, almost shifting the topic, she mentioned, "By the way, Liam is a wonderful boy. He's been through tough times, yet he possesses a compassionate heart." I echoed her nod, uncertain about the direction of our conversation. However, her gaze lingered on me for an additional moment. The same warmth that was there before flickered again, pulsating like a taut wire between us. "Yes," I softly responded, It's true. She smiled, yet her expression held a hidden depth I couldn't quite discern. I pondered if she was thinking along similar lines as me. For a brief moment, I debated asking about the situation. I almost broached the subject, but I didn't. Instead, we stood there in silence, both of us trapped, contemplating our next move. Eventually, she concluded the moment with a quiet, "Thank you once more, Russell." On any other occasion, I would have immediately responded, but this time, a part of me held back. A week has passed since that kitchen encounter. The dialogue wasn't remarkable or boisterous, yet it lingered in my mind. Every time I crossed paths with Charlotte afterward, the atmosphere felt altered and charged. I couldn't ascertain if she sensed it too, or if it was merely my feelings manifesting. Despite this, the vibe between us had evolved, and I couldn't shake it off. As usual, Liam and I spent time together. He chuckled, joked, and strived to maintain a cheerful atmosphere. However, his efforts were fruitless. Each time Charlotte stepped into the room, my eyes trailed after her. I observed subtle nuances such as how her head slightly tilted when she spoke, and how her eyes held mine for a moment longer than necessary. These minor, almost imperceptible actions didn't go unnoticed. I felt them. The unexpected event was Saturday. Liam had plans with his friends, leaving me alone at the house. Despite the unexpectedness, I found solace in it. The truth is, I craved solitude to sort through the thoughts and feelings churning within me. I was seated on the couch scrolling through my phone when her voice echoed from the hallway. "Russell." Startled, I looked up to see her standing there. Her expression was inscrutable. "Hey." I attempted a casual tone, yet my heart was already racing. She moved into the room, paused for a moment, then asked, "Can we talk?" This simple query caused a knot to form in my stomach. "Yes, certainly," I replied, setting aside my phone. She walked over and sat down beside me on the couch. Our proximity wasn't physical, yet the space between us barely existed, making the air seem denser. The room felt cramped. I've been pondering our recent dialogues. She started speaking softly and tentatively. "Anne, I feel I owe you an apology." Surprised, I looked at her again. This wasn't where I thought our conversation was heading. I understand that my behavior might have been distant. She clarified she had been dealing with certain problems and didn't want to burden others. I squinted, trying to decipher her expression. "It's all right," I replied, though it wasn't. Eventually, I said, "You don't need to apologize." She smiled warmly at this, but her eyes hinted she was uncertain. There was more she didn't voice. "I appreciate it," she responded, "but I think I may have overstepped a boundary with you." My heart pounded. This was the moment I had been apprehensive about and, truthfully, secretly hoped for. I didn't know where it would take us, but I couldn't help but listen to her. "What do you imply?" I queried, my tone subtly changing to one of apprehension. Charlotte inhaled deeply and stared at her hands, idly fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. "I sense you are aware," she murmured softly. "There's an undercurrent between us, and I can no longer deny it." This revelation hit me harder than anticipated, leaving me momentarily motionless. Despite my internal alarm bells, I found myself in this situation. Yet, I didn't want things to feel awkward either. In an attempt to maintain composure and prevent the whole scenario from escalating further, I replied, "I'm not trying to create discomfort, Charlotte," almost whispering. "I'm merely unsure how to proceed, but I can no longer pretend that nothing is occurring." She fixed her gaze on me, firm and unwavering. For a lengthy period, we stood in quiet contemplation. The silence hung heavy, filled with unsaid words. Then she reached towards me, her touch light yet electric. A jolt coursed through me. I gasped, momentarily frozen. This isn't just an infatuation, Russell, she murmured, eyes locked on mine. I can't keep pretending it's something else anymore, and I don't want to. A wave of emotion swept over me all at once. Regret, curiosity, longing, dread. I was cognizant of the risks. I knew what might transpire if our secret were discovered, but I felt a deep connection between us. A part of me didn't want it to end. Are you positive? I asked hesitantly. I mean, about whatever this is. She nodded and tightly clasped my hand. I am certain. With that, the boundary we'd been tiptoeing around vanished. We said no more words. There was nothing left to express. The atmosphere shifted dramatically. We both sensed the transformation, the burden of our newfound understanding. Ever since that fateful night, everything has been different. For a year now, we've maintained a silence about it, managing to juggle our regular lives with the tranquil sanctuaries we carved out for ourselves. In many ways, those brief stolen moments seemed like a separate life altogether. We seldom spoke of it, focusing instead on us. That pivotal moment occurred the night she opened the door and there was no sign of a missing towel. It simply became an integral part of our lives. Strangely, it felt almost natural, yet it was delicate, something we kept tightly guarded. From the outset, we were united in one belief. Our happiness was paramount. This bliss originated from trust, a unique kind of trust that allowed us to reveal everything while keeping our secret concealed from others. We constructed our own private haven, a miniature reflection of reality itself. Yet, guilt has persistently haunted me. Each encounter with Liam stirred unease at the back of my mind. Not because I thought he should know, but the burden of this secret left an imprint. Regardless, I never questioned my decision. We both made it, and no matter how turbulent or challenging situations were, it always felt right. Charlotte and I met sparingly, never exceeding bounds. Our interactions remained covert, quiet, and hidden. The hardest part was feigning Liam's visits, smiling as if nothing was amiss. We kept our distance, acting as simple friends. Yet, those fleeting instances, the furtive glance, the subtle smile, the brief touch when no one was watching, they became crucial. They were what bound us. In her house, alone, we'd ponder the consequences if the truth surfaced. We had no definitive plan, only vague scenarios and half-baked ideas. On that quiet Saturday evening, about a year into our relationship, I found myself once again seated on Charlotte's couch. The place where it all began held the same calm, with Liam away with his friends, leaving us alone in the house. Time seemed to have made everything feel normal and comfortable, something we hadn't experienced before. We'd learned to live together peacefully, cautiously, connected. Our emotional discussions had subsided, replaced by a stable, genuine relationship. Though unconventional, it had become something I found hard to let go of. Charlotte sat beside me, her beauty undiminished, but with a newfound softness, ease in her demeanor, and serenity etched on her face. We've grown accustomed to carrying the burden of our possessions, and I find solace in that fact. The secret has become a part of us. In quiet whispers, she asked, "Do you often ponder how we ended up here?" Her voice was soft and gentle, breaking the hush. I smiled and relaxed, resting deeper into the pillows. "Constantly," I replied. "I still can't fully believe we've managed to stay together for so long." I glanced at her, my initial wonder transforming into gratitude. "It doesn't feel like a year." She chuckled softly and laid her head on my shoulder. "It certainly doesn't," she agreed. "Yet, it seems as though this has always been our sanctuary, as if it was destined to happen." I nodded slowly, tracing fingers over hers. "Indeed, it's peculiar," I said. "But it's the kind of peculiar that feels right. I never imagined my life would unfold like this. Now that she's here, there's nothing I'd change. She subtly adjusted her gaze towards mine, mirroring an expression that always seemed to halt time. In response, she whispered tenderly, "Neither would I. Considering the situation, I think we handled it well. I'm grateful we kept it private." Her voice radiated confidence. "It belongs to us, just ours." And she was right. That was the crucial aspect. It wasn't about anyone else. This was something we built cautiously, meticulously, and together. "I'm content," I murmured, offering a gentle squeeze of her hand. "We're happy. That's what matters." We didn't need words after that. We stayed quiet thereafter. Words weren't necessary. We merely sat side by side, embraced by a silence that needed no filling. The only audible sound was the gentle ticking of the wall clock. A year had slipped away, a whole year hidden in plain sight. Somehow, we made it work. We safeguarded our secret. We shielded what was ours. Regardless of everything, we clung tightly to what truly mattered, each other. As the night unfolded and darkness enveloped the world beyond, a single idea emerged in my mind. This is how I wish things to remain. It wasn't perfect. It was messy, peculiar, and challenging. But it was ours, and at times, that was enough.